Hello, I'm Sunny. I am an actor on General Hospital, and many people really love both me and our General Hospital drama. So I've come here to share updates about my beloved General Hospital. Everyone, please subscribe and support me. If you do, I will keep coming every day with new updates for you. Before the first shockwave even has a chance to settle over Port Charles, the next 3 weeks promise to reshape lives, revive old rivalries, and introduce mysterious new faces whose arrivals will send ripples through every corner of the city. From July 13th through July 31st, long-buried secrets begin clawing their way back into the light, forcing familiar heroes and dangerous enemies onto unexpected paths. Every home, every relationship, and every carefully protected secret suddenly feels vulnerable as destiny begins pulling everyone toward a future none of them can escape. Some people will return forever changed, while others will arrive carrying mysteries that threaten to rewrite everything Port Charles thought it knew. As one chapter quietly closes, another begins with breathtaking intensity, setting the stage for weeks filled with emotional reunions, dangerous conspiracies, heartbreaking decisions, and life-altering consequences that no one sees coming. The emotional journey begins during the week of July 13th through July 17th, when Port Charles celebrates a milestone unlike any other with its historic 16,000th episode. Rather than simply honoring the past, this unforgettable day ushers in a powerful new era as two major arrivals instantly command everyone's attention. Dr. Tristan Roberts makes his first appearance in town, stepping into a world already overflowing with complicated histories and unfinished business. Unfortunately, his introduction is anything but smooth, as fate places him directly in the path of Britt Westbourne during a deeply unfortunate encounter that promises to create immediate tension. At the very same time, Jason Morgan finally returns home to Port Charles, and his long-awaited comeback instantly becomes one of the most emotional moments of the celebration. The city welcomes back one of its most legendary figures, but beneath the surface, it quickly becomes clear that the man returning home is not exactly the same man who once left. While Jason's return captures the attention of nearly everyone around him, another complicated story quietly continues to unfold as Willow Kane works tirelessly to preserve the carefully crafted life she has fought so hard to build. Maintaining her image as the compassionate, flawless Congresswoman Kane has become more than a public responsibility. It has become essential to protecting everything she has created. Her reputation continues to grow stronger, and all signs point toward her securing an influential position on the General Hospital Board. Another achievement that would further solidify her standing within the community. Yet behind the polished smile and carefully controlled public appearances, danger is slowly closing in from an entirely unexpected direction. Drew Kane's physical recovery continues progressing faster than anticipated, and every new improvement in his mobility represents another threat to the future Willow desperately wants to preserve. What should be a miracle for Drew instead becomes an unsettling source of fear for those who understand exactly what his recovery could expose. That growing concern soon spreads beyond Willow herself as Kai Taylor learns about Drew's remarkable progress. Instead of celebrating the encouraging news, Kai finds himself overwhelmed by a deep sense of unease that refuses to disappear. He cannot ignore the possibility that Drew becoming stronger could dramatically shift the balance of power surrounding Willow's carefully protected secrets. Once Kai shares his concerns with Trina Robinson, the two begin piecing together possibilities that become increasingly alarming with every passing conversation. Their fears lead them toward one chilling conclusion that neither of them wants to believe but cannot completely dismiss. If Willow believes Drew's continued recovery threatens everything she has worked to protect, could she make the unimaginable decision to silence him permanently? That terrifying possibility hangs over them like a gathering storm cloud, adding another layer of suspense to an already explosive situation. Elsewhere in Port Charles, emotional boundaries are tested as Carly Spencer stands firmly beside the future she has chosen for herself. Refusing to allow anyone to dictate her personal life, Carly confronts Sonny Corinthos with unwavering determination and demands that he respect her relationship with Valentine Cassadine. She makes it abundantly clear that she expects Sonny to stay out of their lives and stop creating unnecessary conflict between them. It is a heartfelt request rooted in her desire to finally move forward without constant interference from the man who has shared so much of her past. Yet anyone who knows Sonny understands that walking away has never been one of his strengths, especially when the people he loves are involved. Even as Carly hopes her words will be enough, there is already a growing sense that Sonny has no intention of honoring her wishes. That suspicion proves well-founded as the week of July 20th through July 24th ushers in another dangerous chapter. Rather than respecting Carly's request, Sunny quietly begins orchestrating a calculated campaign designed to sabotage her romance with Valentin. Working alongside the ever-resourceful Brick, Sunny launches a carefully planned effort to undermine the relationship from the shadows. Every move is made with precision, every decision fueled by emotion that refuses to fade despite everything that has happened between him and Carly. What begins as quiet manipulation threatens to evolve into something far more explosive as Sunny risks damaging multiple relationships in pursuit of what he believes is the right outcome. The deeper he becomes involved in this romantic sabotage, the greater the chance that the fallout will reach far beyond Carly and Valentin alone. Meanwhile, Jason Morgan faces challenges that have nothing to do with dramatic reunions or emotional homecomings. Returning to Port Charles is only the first step in rebuilding a life forever changed by his time behind bars. Prison has altered his perspective in ways even those closest to him cannot immediately understand, leaving Jason determined to make significant changes moving forward. Instead of slipping comfortably back into his old routines, he begins re-evaluating the choices that once defined him. Those painful experiences have left permanent marks on his soul, convincing him that the life he once accepted without question may no longer be the life he wants. As Jason's transformation becomes increasingly apparent, whispers begin spreading that his official departure from the mob could soon become reality. If that decision is confirmed, it will undoubtedly catch Sunny completely off guard, forever changing the foundation of one of Port Charles's most iconic partnerships. Jason's adjustment becomes even more complicated when he discovers that Rick Lansing has earned a place within Sonny Corinthos' trusted inner circle during his absence. Learning just how close Rick has become to Sonny immediately raises concerns that Jason cannot simply ignore. Questions about loyalty, trust, and shifting alliances begin racing through his mind as he struggles to understand how much has changed while he was gone. Sonny quickly recognizes the tension building between the two men and understands that allowing it to grow unchecked could create dangerous divisions. Determined to preserve unity, Sonny does everything in his power to convince Jason and Rick to put their differences aside and work toward common ground. Whether old grudges can truly be buried, however, remains another question entirely. Away from the adults' complicated battles, the younger generation faces emotional struggles of its own. As Danny Morgan and Charlotte Cassadine gradually begin pushing Rocco Falconeri away, the loneliness surrounding him becomes impossible to ignore. Feeling increasingly isolated from the friends he once relied upon, Rocco desperately needs someone willing to remind him that he is not alone. At precisely the right moment, a familiar family name returns in an entirely new form as an older Scout Quartermain officially arrives on the scene. Her debut brings more than simply a fresh face to Port Charles. It introduces a compassionate presence capable of offering Rocco the understanding and comfort he has been missing. Their growing connection could become an emotional lifeline for both of them, proving that even during life's darkest moments, unexpected friendships often emerge when they are needed most. As if the city were not already overflowing with change, another familiar face prepares to step back into Port Charles with an entirely new energy. Kelly Kruger soon makes her first appearance as the newly recast Serena Baldwin, bringing fresh life to a beloved character whose return promises significant consequences. Serena does not quietly blend into the background after her arrival. Instead, she quickly becomes deeply entangled in the increasingly chaotic deception storyline, placing herself at the center of one of the city's most intriguing business dramas. Her presence is expected to shift alliances, uncover hidden agendas, and complicate relationships already stretched to their limits. With every passing day, Serena's involvement grows more significant, making her one of the most important new players in the weeks ahead. Back in Willow's increasingly fragile world, another unexpected development threatens to leave her emotionally shaken. Harrison Chase, who once shared a close connection with her, begins intentionally creating distance between them. His decision is not driven by anger alone, but by a sincere desire to repair the marriage he nearly lost with Brooklyn Quartermain. Now fully aware of Brooklyn's shocking frame-up scheme and everything it has cost them, Chase chooses to redirect his focus toward rebuilding trust with his wife rather than maintaining old emotional ties. For Willow, his sudden withdrawal comes as a painful surprise, adding another emotional burden to an already overwhelming list of worries. Every relationship around her appears to be shifting, leaving her increasingly uncertain about who she can truly rely on. Then, as July draws toward its dramatic conclusion during the week of July 27th through July 31st, another mysterious figure steps into Port Charles and immediately changes the direction of multiple storylines. Troy Lennon Appel makes his debut as Hudson, a powerful and enigmatic business executive whose arrival instantly raises questions throughout the community. Hudson's first appearance on July 30th is far from ordinary, as his calm exterior conceals a mission that could send shockwaves through countless lives. There is an unmistakable sense that he has come to Port Charles with a very specific objective, and whatever that purpose may be, it carries enormous consequences for everyone standing in his path. The mystery surrounding Hudson only deepens as speculation grows about who he really is and what secrets he has brought with him. Among those most directly affected by Hudson's arrival is Ethan Lovett, whose peaceful existence suddenly begins unraveling at an alarming pace. Ethan soon discovers that his past has finally caught up with him, dragging old ghosts back into the present with frightening force. Realizing the danger closing in around him, he reaches one heartbreaking conclusion. Remaining in Port Charles may no longer be an option. Desperate to stay one step ahead of whatever is coming, Ethan prepares to flee before circumstances become truly life-threatening. Every passing moment increases the urgency of his escape, creating an atmosphere filled with tension, uncertainty, and fear. His race against time promises to become one of the most gripping stories of the summer. The mystery surrounding Hudson only becomes more fascinating as theories begin swirling about his true connection to Ethan's troubles. One possibility suggests Hudson himself may actually be Phoebe's biological father, a revelation capable of turning countless lives upside down. Another theory points in a different direction entirely, proposing that Hudson is acting on behalf of his employer, who could instead be Phoebe's real father. Regardless of which possibility ultimately proves true, one fact becomes impossible to ignore. Hudson is a man driven by purpose, determination, and a mission that leaves no room for hesitation. His arrival alone appears powerful enough to send Ethan running for his life, making it clear that whatever secret lies at the center of this mystery carries extraordinary weight. As these mysteries continue unfolding, Ava Jerome once again finds herself drawn toward chaos she never intended to embrace. Determined to understand exactly what is happening around her, Ava begins searching for answers that seem increasingly difficult to find. Yet every clue she uncovers only leads to more questions, pulling her deeper into a web of danger, deception, and unpredictable consequences. What starts as a simple attempt to make sense of a confusing situation threatens to entangle her in far more drama than she ever anticipated, with powerful new arrivals, life-changing decisions, dangerous conspiracies, emotional reunions, and long-buried secrets all colliding at once. The weeks ahead promise to transform Port Charles forever. By the time July comes to an end, nothing will feel quite the same, and every resident will discover that the greatest battles are often the ones no one ever sees coming. It is also becoming increasingly clear that Jason Morgan's return is about far more than nostalgia or a simple homecoming. The city may recognize the familiar face walking its streets once again, but the man behind that face has been forever reshaped by everything he endured while imprisoned. Every conversation carries a quiet hesitation. Every reunion is touched by emotions that words alone cannot fully express. And every familiar location reminds Jason of the life he left behind. The confidence that once defined him now exists alongside careful reflection, revealing someone who has learned that survival often demands painful sacrifice. Friends and family celebrate his return, yet beneath their smiles lingers the realization that rebuilding trust, restoring old relationships, and rediscovering his place in Port Charles will take far more than simply coming home. Jason understands that this next chapter cannot be written by repeating the past, and that realization may become the most important decision he has ever made. That internal transformation becomes impossible to ignore as Jason quietly distances himself from the criminal life that once seemed inseparable from his identity. Years of unquestioning loyalty to Sonny Corinthos helped define one of Port Charles's strongest partnerships. But prison forced Jason to confront difficult truths about the cost of that loyalty. The isolation gave him time to reflect on every choice, every loss, and every relationship sacrificed in the name of duty. Those painful memories now guide him toward a future that looks dramatically different from the one everyone expects him to reclaim. If Jason truly walks away from the mob for good, the decision will send shockwaves throughout Port Charles, leaving allies stunned and enemies scrambling to understand what comes next. For Sonny, the possibility is almost unimaginable, because losing Jason as his most trusted partner could create a void that no one else is capable of filling. At the same time, Sonny finds himself balancing multiple battles on every front. While secretly plotting to interfere with Carly Spencer's relationship alongside Brick, he must also navigate the growing tension between Jason and Rick Lansing. Sonny knows better than anyone that old resentments have a way of resurfacing when emotions run high, especially after years of separation and shifting loyalties. Rick's place within Sonny's trusted inner circle has already changed the balance of power, and Jason's return threatens to complicate that fragile dynamic even further. Sonny refuses to watch his closest allies become divided, so he works tirelessly behind the scenes to convince both men that cooperation is the only path forward. Whether his efforts succeed or fail could determine not only the future of their relationships, but also the stability of the powerful empire Sonny has spent years protecting. Meanwhile, Willow Kane continues walking an increasingly dangerous tightrope, trying to preserve the perfect image she has carefully constructed while the walls slowly begin closing in around her. Outwardly, she remains the compassionate public servant admired throughout the community, carrying herself with grace as Congresswoman Kane while preparing for what appears to be an influential role on the General Hospital Board. Yet beneath that polished exterior, anxiety continues building with every encouraging update about Drew Kane's recovery. Each new sign of his improving mobility threatens to expose truths Willow desperately wants to keep buried, transforming what should be a story of hope into one of growing fear. Kai Taylor and Trina Robinson cannot shake the unsettling possibility that desperation could drive Willow toward an unthinkable decision if she believes everything she has built is about to collapse. The mere suggestion that Drew's life could be in danger creates a chilling atmosphere that hangs over every development, making every interaction feel loaded with hidden meaning and silent tension. Elsewhere, the younger generation finds itself caught in emotional struggles that are every bit as painful as the conflicts consuming the adults. Rocco Falconeri's growing isolation becomes increasingly heartbreaking as Danny Morgan and Charlotte Cassadine continue pushing him away, leaving him to question where he truly belongs. Feeling abandoned by the people he once considered close friends, Rocco quietly carries a loneliness that few around him fully recognize. Just when that loneliness threatens to overwhelm him, Scout Quartermain's arrival offers an unexpected source of warmth and understanding. Older, more mature, and ready to step into a larger role, Scout reaches out with genuine compassion, proving that even the smallest act of kindness can change someone's entire world. Their developing friendship promises to become a touching emotional storyline, reminding everyone that hope often arrives when it is least expected. The atmosphere surrounding Deception also begins shifting dramatically with the long-awaited return of Serena Baldwin, now portrayed by Kelly Kruger. Serena's reappearance is far more than a familiar face returning to town. It signals the beginning of a brand new chapter filled with corporate intrigue, hidden agendas, and emotional confrontations. Before long, she becomes deeply involved in the company's growing drama, placing herself at the center of conflicts that continue escalating with every passing day. Her intelligence, determination, and willingness to confront difficult situations make her an immediate force within the storyline. As alliances begin changing and new rivalries emerge, Serena's presence promises to influence far more than just business decisions. Her return adds yet another unpredictable element to a city already overflowing with uncertainty. While Port Charles adjusts to these familiar faces, an even greater mystery quietly approaches on the horizon. Hudson's arrival during the final days of July carries an unmistakable sense of danger that can be felt long before anyone fully understands his purpose. Calm, composed, and seemingly in complete control, the mysterious business executive steps into town with a mission that appears carefully planned long before his arrival. Every move he makes suggests someone operating with absolute confidence, and every interaction hints that he knows far more than he is willing to reveal. Questions immediately begin spreading throughout Port Charles as residents wonder why someone like Hudson has suddenly appeared and what exactly he hopes to accomplish. The answers remain hidden, but the consequences of his presence begin unfolding almost immediately. No one feels those consequences more intensely than Ethan Lovett. The moment Ethan realizes that his past has finally resurfaced, the urgency in his actions becomes impossible to ignore. Whatever secret has followed him back to Port Charles is serious enough to convince him that staying could cost him everything. Fear replaces certainty as Ethan scrambles to escape before the danger surrounding him becomes impossible to outrun. Whether Hudson is directly connected to Phoebe as her biological father or is acting on behalf of someone even more powerful, the threat feels real enough to send Ethan into full retreat. His desperate attempt to flee promises an emotional race against time, filled with suspense, unanswered questions, and the constant feeling that disaster may strike at any moment. As Ethan's world spirals into chaos, Ava Jerome inevitably finds herself pulled into the mystery. Despite her best efforts to understand what is happening, Ava has always possessed a sharp instinct for reading dangerous situations, but this time the puzzle seems far more complicated than anything she anticipated. Every answer she uncovers leads to another layer of uncertainty, drawing her deeper into a situation that grows more volatile with each passing day. What begins as simple curiosity quickly transforms into a struggle for survival as powerful forces begin colliding around her. Before long, Ava realizes she may have stepped into a conflict far larger than she ever imagined, one capable of changing multiple lives before the truth is finally revealed. And with July racing toward its explosive conclusion, every storyline appears destined to collide in spectacular fashion, leaving Port Charles forever transformed by the secrets, betrayals, reunions, and impossible choices that define these unforgettable weeks ahead.